can lead us in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. This is a lot of glitter. It's very sparkly desk tonight. We have some minutes to review.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the November 14th non-public meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
I abstain.
One abstention.
I'll make a motion to approve the November 14th regular meeting minutes.
And I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. So,
And we have an abstention.
Oh, I abstain. Thanks, Phil.
one
From
abstention.
both of those?
Yes.
Yep.
It's all one night.
Okay. The Select Board will meet on the following dates at 5 p.m. Monday, December 12th, Monday, December 19th for a budget work session, Monday, January 9th, Tuesday, January 17th for a budget work session if needed, Monday, January 23rd for the first public hearing on the 2023-2024 budget, Thursday, February 9th for the second public hearing on the 2023-2024 budget if needed, and the reading of petitioned warrant articles. A calendar of these meetings can be found at the town's website at plymouth-nh.org. All meetings will be held upstairs in the town hall and by Zoom. Zoom information can be found on the town's website at plymouth-nh.org. Any citizens wishing to be listed on the Select Board's agenda should notify the town hall before noon the Thursday before the scheduled meeting. I have no particular comments this evening. The town manager and he is out tonight, so we'll skip over that, which gets us straight into New Hampshire Electric Company and some discussions around rates and the relation therein to whether or not we have solar power and such. And so we have Bill Johnstone joining us via Zoom. Hi, Bill.
I'm also, I think Grace should be participating, but she just stepped out.
For a phone call?
Okay.
Yes.
All right,
I
well,
believe-
she'll be back.
Yeah, she'll be back. Hi, Bill.
Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you for having me join the meeting tonight. Be glad to answer your questions about your solar array and any other energy-related questions.
She was.
Perfect. And Grace just walked back in. Grace, if you want to participate in this conversation at all, you can either come sit with us or go to the podium, whatever makes you more comfortable. The one question I had, and I'll start. If others have other questions, we can get into them. But if we move forward with our solar array project and it gets approved and we install it, we're trying to understand the relation between the power we would generate and the power that we would purchase. And whether those two things are connected in any way, or if does the power we generate is it given to us as power credits? Is it given to us as a direct revenue that gets paid to the town and then we pay? So that's the piece that I'm trying to understand. And in particular, it's timely for us because we need to either re-up our agreement, our power, I don't know if it's what it's called, but our fixed
purchasing?
power purchase.
Competitive supplier agreement.
Yes, we either need to re-up our competitive supplier agreement to try to get the best possible rates, or we need to do something differently to prepare for the solar array. So that's the basis of my question. If you could help us with that, it'd be great.
Sure. Maybe I'll start with the competitive power piece first, if that makes sense.
That'd be great.
If folks that are on solar, well, it's not an absolute requirement that you're with the co-op for the power. The co-op, we call that co-op power. That's the competitive piece. The co-op goes out and aggregates for all of its members, comes up with the best rate, and then passes that through to our members. There's no markup or margin on that, so we're indifferent whether you're with us or with a competitive supplier. When you get into solar, generally competitive suppliers, I haven't seen any, but maybe there's someone out there, they are not set up to receive the power back from your solar array. So if we're not your power supplier, you're registered with a competitor, that allocation, you're with them, you're not with the co-op. And so that's a relationship between you and your competitive supplier. When you get into a group host situation, which you're talking about here for the Plymouth solar array, we do require that both the group host and all the group members are on co-op power. It's a logistical thing. It's just the way the group net metering works. So if you have a standalone solar array, you're not required to be with a co-op, but it's recommended that you are to get your best benefit. If you're with the co-op, we can give you the credits for the competitive energy, that co-op power piece. If you're not with us, we can't give you a credit on that. So financially, it's the best to be with the co-op, if that makes sense.
I'm not sure I'm following still. So what we're talking about is a standalone power array, solar array, or it's group net meter. I'm not sure I understand the difference between those two things.
Sure. Say for example, at your home, you could put a solar array up on your roof and net meter all you use at your home. That's like a standalone solar system. What I understand the town is trying to accomplish, because you have a number of accounts, you're looking at building one solar array and then sharing that output amongst many of the town's accounts, so that the benefit is shared amongst those accounts. So in this situation, as a group net meter, we do require that the group host, that one account that is hosting the solar array, and any of the group members that are associated on that group net meter are all on co-op power, not with a competitive supplier.
Okay, so if we put the solar array in place, we have no opportunity to shop for better power rates. We have to use the co-op rates.
That's correct.
Yeah,
Could we, partition the solar array in a couple of facilities on the co-op, and then others would be some other competitive, bidder?
Absolutely. And the way a group net meter works, you have your group host, and that's the site where the solar is going to be situated. And then generally the output of that solar is larger than that one service. And you want to share the output amongst other metered accounts. And the way it works, group net metering, the aggregate of the accounts that it's going to be shared with, their consumption must be larger than the output of the solar. So if the town has more accounts than needs to be associated with the solar array to offset the solar use, you don't have to have all of the town accounts in a group net meter agreement.
Okay.
Only the accounts that's going to aggregate to equal or larger than solar output.
Right.
So in a sense, we could have a single account on the solar array and sell the power directly to the co-op at whatever rate the co-op gives us, and have all of our other things on another agreement. He's saying yes. And so those are separate.
He's saying yes, but that doesn't match with what he said a moment ago.
If you want to share amongst group accounts, you have to have all of them on the co-op power. But if you wanted to have that with a single standalone, you could do it. You just wouldn't be able to credit the output towards the other accounts, right? You would still get paid for whatever you're selling to the co-op.
Does the co-op buy the power, or do they only give bill credits for the power?
We're talking about two separate situations. If it's a solar array on one account and that's it, say you're gonna put solar on the town hall, just to pick, you could just net meter that account. Any excess that comes back to the co-op, we give you a credit, and those can stay as credits. And maybe in the summer months, your use is higher. In the summer, you can use those in the summer. You're not generating much in the winter, then those credits could be applied towards winter months as well. If you're gonna do a group net meter account, let's say the town, I don't remember offhand how many accounts the town has. Let's just say you have 10 accounts. You could put 5 accounts in the group net meter, okay, and 5 accounts that just remain as they are, electric metered accounts. You don't have to put all of the town accounts into group net meter. So those 5 accounts that are group net metered have to be on co-op power. The other 5 accounts, you could go with a competitive supplier.
So there's no situation where we get money back from the co-op.
I'm sorry, repeat that?
There is no situation where we would get money back from the co-op if we didn't use it all. It's only available to be credits.
Well, if it's a group net meter account, you get any excess that is returned to the co-op, you get a check every month for that excess. So again, let's say the town hall is the group host, and you have your amount of use there, and there's times, weekends, you're shipping power back to the co-op. Any excess that comes back to the co-op is reconciled every month and paid to you in a check.
Okay, so the reason this is important is the sites that we're considering are all fields. We actually have no power consumption at the sites that we're actually talking about. So we're trying to understand, do we take the power that we generate and bring that just in as revenue, and then worry about our power consumption as a secondary thing? Or do we can go with the co-op and take those as credits? And so that's really the piece that we're trying to explore right now, to figure out what gives us the...
If you're going to put the solar array in a field and there's no consumption, and it's purely just a solar site, all of the energy would be coming back to the co-op. Anything that's generated is going to be returned to the co-op. You would, every month, that would get reconciled, and you would get paid cash, a check every month for that generation.
Okay.
And what are the rates that we get paid for that generation? Are they comparable to market rate?
They adjust every 6 months, generally, or other times if our board of directors requires the rates to be changed. But They're changed every 6 months, and they're posted on our website. And again, remember, the co-op we're a not-for-profit. We're setting up the rates to cover our expenses, and so we're not paying investors or receiving profit any other way.
So those rates that we would receive, they would be the same as if we went through you?
If meaning with a competitive supplier,
Yes.
a competitive supplier is just that. They're a competitor. They're generally generation companies, and what they charge for power is their business. Generally, they're for profit, and I'm not building anything in there. They charge what they feel is the market rate for power at that time, and what they're ready to offer you. I don't get involved in that side of the business. I don't
For clarity, so if the current rate that the co-op is charging for power is 15 cents, we'll say,
Mhm.
is that the rate that we would get, or is it something below that rate?
There's a difference on net metering from what you purchase power for and what comes back. You're using our grid. And in general, in round numbers, it's about 4 cent difference.
Okay, that's kind of what we're looking for, so we could figure out what that margin is.
Right.
Right, is it
And-
better to buy power from you or to use it from our solar array? That's what I'm trying to understand.
You get the most credit for the kilowatt hours that are never purchased, right? So your solar array, if it was attached to a building that had consumption,
Usage, yeah.
you're reducing your consumption, and that's a full credit, okay? But when you're sending power back to the grid, there is a small difference in the two rates in the direction of the energy.
Okay,
Currently, none of the sites that we're discussing have consumption.
correct.
Right, but can you have another, solar array in the field, but the town hall, some of the power is sent to the town hall, it doesn't work
No.
like that.
No, we either get credits or
Gotcha,
pay.
it's either one or the other, okay.
Credits or direct use.
Gotcha.
Is that difference in the rate what you call a strain cost?
No, we don't have any stranded costs.
No?
No, stranded costs, those went away probably early 2000. All our stranded costs was taken off.
Grace, you have some commentary?
Hi, Skip. Grace. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, but you're not on camera, though.
Okay, anyway. And Ted Van Zandt is finally on up there.
Okay,
He's
good.
having a little hard time zooming in. So just a clarification, if we decide, and the town votes to pass a warrant article to build the array on Quincy Road, according to Ted, technically the airport location could be, as I like to call it, behind the meter, but it would be pretty expensive to upgrade that building, service at that building in order to accept that kind of power for use on the site. So Skip's correct, it would be basically a solar array in a field in that situation. And as I understand what you're saying, Skip, we don't actually have to set up a group.
No, you don't.
And is there a financial benefit to setting up a group?
I can't necessarily think of one. The original intent of group net metering was, I believe, really to allow individuals to get together to share in building a solar array and receive the output for that. So in a town, you know, it can be beneficial, I guess. It's, you know, you know, everyone's different, but, you know, getting the payment every month for the output, to be able to share amongst the accounts, that may be valuable to folks. It's really just another option that the New Hampshire Public Utilities Commission has allowed solar arrays to exist.
So whether we had a group, or if we decided not to have a group, we would still get the same rate by check per month from co-op?
Yeah, again, you know, if there's no load behind, you know, if there's no use at the service site, you pay that differential rate of all the returned power. You know, I always view it, the best solar consumption is reducing the load right at the site. But if there's no load to reduce, the next best thing is to send the power back to the grid.
So in that case, all town accounts, if the town decided not to go with group net metering, in this case, we built an array in the field, so to speak, then we could go with third-party supplier on all of the town accounts.
Sure, if it's not associated with group net metering, absolutely.
Sounds good.
This sounds like it would be advantageous for a condominium.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
This sounds like it would be advantageous for a condominium association. With this group
Sure.
setup, it would
Yeah.
work out really well for them.
Sure. If they, you know, they put a solar array in the common area and then share it amongst the unit owners, and, sure, that would work great.
Yeah, please.
And Ted, you're on there if you have any questions. One other question is, if we decide to do a group net metering, it doesn't matter what account we put on. For instance, we keep asking ourselves the question, could we put our streetlights on as one of the groups?
Streetlights are unmetered, and so streetlights cannot be included in a group net meter. It has to be a metered electric account.
Thank you.
Streetlights are paid as a flat fee. It's all bundled, the cost of the fixture, the energy, the maintenance, all of that is all bundled into a flat fee.
Hey, sorry everyone, this is Ted.
Hi, Ted.
Hi, Bill.
Hello.
I just want to be clear, so if the town built a ground array out by the airport and didn't do group net metering, then the value of all the exported energy would be paid to the town in a single check?
Not monthly. It's a different arrangement. It's a traditional net metered account that build up credits, and then you have the option to cash out the value of those credits.
So that would be annually that it would be paid?
I believe so. I'm not positive on that.
So the benefit of group net metering would be to get a monthly payment?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So we just mix and match.
We have options.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any additional questions for Bill?
Yeah, how close a proximity would the solar array have to be to the group host?
Ted
Or Bill?
or Bill?
Yeah.
Can you repeat that?
I mean, it's going to be behind an electric meter.
it has
So, you know, that's a technical question that the co-op wouldn't advise on at all.
It probably wouldn't be a mile away, though.
No, I mean, the power loss and all would be too significant.
Okay.
You want to have it close to an electric meter. The closer the better. wire size and those kind of things. But I'm not an electrician or an engineer. That would be determined by the installer.
Any other questions for Bill?
I'm all set.
I'm all set.
I think we're good. Thank you so much for being here, answering our questions.
And, you know, if there's further questions, I'm glad to you know, answer those either through email or I can come back to another meeting.
Great.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Great. In all of your research about power rates, we've got these competitive purchase rates from Constellation, People's Power Choice, CES, Freedom Energy Logistics. What do we know what the current rate is from the co-op if we were to go with them?
It is 16 cents until June, I believe it was. Because they rate out at 6-month intervals, and I can pull it up on my phone to get you exact, but it
16 cents.
was
Roughly
around
16 cents. But then it's there's no way with the co-op you don't get fixed rates for a time period. You get what their rate
Get 'em for
is.
6-month increments.
6-month increments, right?
And we have identified, I don't know if Ted's still up there, but we have identified accounts. So we can't generate, so if we do a group, we can't generate less than what those group members use. More than, excuse me. We can't generate more?
Can't generate more than the members of the group use.
And we have identified accounts that would fit into that, minus the streetlights now, that we understand.
But if we don't go with a group, we can sell as much as we want.
But it sounds like Ted has clarified that if we don't go with a group, we wouldn't get a monthly check, correct, Ted? That's what I think.
Annual, not
Annual.
monthly. It would be annual, not monthly.
We kinda get-
Yeah.
If we pick some, facilities that would get us near the total, we'd be getting monthly checks, and then we get an annual check for anything that is greater than,
We get monthly reductions in bills, not monthly checks.
well,
Yeah.
for the,
Credits for group net metering.
yeah, for,
You would get a monthly check.
You'd get a check, or we'd get it sounded like you said a reduction, a credit, which would be a reduction in our
no,
bill.
that's
So a check.
You get a check.
if
It would be
we,
a lot less money if you don't use the power yourself.
yeah,
think he
if
said-
we take more than, what we're gonna make off the, I think we split the usage, and then get monthly checks for those that are under the net meter, and then we get an annual check for whatever.
That's not the way I understood it all.
Yeah, I think
Either.
it's something very similar to that.
I thought he was pretty clear that there are no monthly checks.
No,
Yeah.
there are monthly
No, there are
checks.
monthly
There
checks.
He said explicitly that you get an annual check, or
No, for net metering,
If you were
convert it
group
off
net,
meter,
you would.
correct.
You get an annual thing.
But if you're not group net, you get annual.
For net metering, you get a monthly
That's
check.
how you
Facilities,
don't use.
well, Ted has
Could,
actually.
could Ted just weigh in on that, just to
Yeah.
clarify?
Yeah, Ted.
Are you hearing that, Ted?
Yeah, my understanding is that under group net metering, they would give you a check monthly for the output of the array. And you would then split that up amongst your accounts as you see fit. And then.
But hold on, Ted, you just said check, and then you talked about splitting it amongst accounts, which isn't the way a check would work. It sounds like you're describing a credit.
The town would take the
Right.
dollar,
Break it up between.
$300.
Well, that's not how towns work. Towns get revenue, and it goes into the general fund, and then we expend revenue against our bills. It has nothing to do with whether or not it's which
Write
accounts.
us a check, they cut us a check.
Right.
And he was very clear that if the last question that Ted asked was, do we get those checks monthly? And he said, no, we get those checks annually.
Those are for those, if we have a net metering, then we're gonna check monthly.
Right.
I thought on net metering, we got
Credits, not checks.
Oh, no, I heard it the other way around as well.
And honestly, I think Ted can clear it up. Regardless of what you do with the revenue when it comes to the town, let's just leave that off the table right now. Would that be okay? Ted, can you try that again?
my understanding is that under group net meter, you would get a check monthly from the co-op. And under, if you did not do group net meter, you could just put in an account, then you'd have to wait till the end of the year to get one single check.
So with no groups established, there'd be a check once a year. With groups established, you'd get it once a month.
Apparently, Bill's going to be joining us.
Bill's going to join and clarify this because this is too important a nuance for
Yeah,
us
yeah.
to not, understand it. He said it'll take him a minute to get back to his computer.
Yeah. But you do have these numbers from,
As I read these numbers, though,
yes.
a 5-year term with People's Power Choice,
Yeah.
we get energy at 10 cents roughly kilowatt hour, whereas the co-op it's 16 cents and probably would go up every 6 months because power
It's a
doesn't.
gamble, right? You lock in at 10 cents, and right now the rate that we have Constellation is 7.5. What if it goes down? It's just a gamble, right? To sign the 5-year contract.
It feels like the sort of gamble you would take, though. The idea
I
that
would take it.
the idea that power goes down is always
Well, you saw that slide we presented at our public hearing. It's
right,
just
which
done nothing
does,
but
it just
gone
does,
up.
It just does this, right? Like you get little downs
Highs and
then
lows,
they're
but
followed by bigger ups.
Fluctuations.
So at that
back on.
point, assuming
Yeah.
he is back. Oh, Bill, thank you for joining us again.
Sure, I'm back.
So this was the clarification we just we hung up and then immediately got stuck on. Assuming we're in group net metering
Yes,
and we generate an excess of power
yes.
more than what our group is using.
More than what the host is using.
Correct.
Right.
Okay, but the host is going to be zero
Okay.
because it's in a field, right? So
Right.
so we generate more than zero. Does the more than zero get given to the town in that scenario as a credit on our bill or a check to town hall?
Monthly check.
A monthly check to town hall.
Yes.
So if instead we don't do group net metering and we've just got a array in a field with no accounts associated with it, we're just generating power. In that scenario, you pay us annually and not monthly?
Yes, that would be correct. You pay your monthly service fee, and then we talked about that little, that 4 cent difference, approximately.
Does that is that 4 cents there either way, or is that 4 cents only there in that scenario?
I say the 4 cents. If I got to keep thinking about no use, which we don't usually see that.
Right.
Right. You usually see it in a situation where there's some use at the site. So everything returned has that. It's about 4 cents less than what we would normally charge.
So it's 4 cents less either way. Roughly
Yes.
4 cents left.
Yep.
In any scenario we're talking about, that's the case. So
Sure.
if we wanted to get a check monthly, what would prevent us from only putting a very low use? Like the airport is very low use power. We put the airport on with the solar array. We use none. The airport uses very little. Would that generate us a monthly check?
In no group host?
No,
Like,
no
group
usage.
net metering?
Group net metering, and we just put one thing on the group net meter or two things on the group net meter.
Remember, the aggregate of all your group members, including the group host, has to have use that exceeds the output of the solar array. Has to be larger than the solar array. So,
Okay, well,
You-
then what, in what scenario would we ever get a check?
it's only, you're only looking at the group host. Okay, the group host consumes the energy.
Yep, in our
Anything
case, our
that's-
group host consumes 0 energy.
So all of the energy is coming back.
Yep, all the energy's coming back,
You would get a check every month for all the energy that came back.
but we would
Only-
have,
Only on what the group host uses, not the group members.
And let me add to that. To do that, to get that benefit, you have to have group members that have kilowatt hour use on an aggregate annual basis greater than the production of the solar facility.
Yes.
So the only way you can do group net metering is if you have all those members of the group that use more kilowatt hours than being produced by the solar.
so even in
Yes.
that, so in that scenario, we've got a bunch of not hosts, but we have a bunch of members of the group that are using more energy than the array produces. We still get a check in that scenario, which we then ourselves apply to our expenses. We don't get that as a credit.
That's, you get a check. Group net metering, you get a monthly check.
Okay, so we get a bill. The bill exceeds the usage. Our generation exceeds the host's usage, so we get both a bill and a check.
Yes.
Okay.
If there was use at the group host,
There's not though.
there's not, I'm just, maybe I shouldn't even bring that up,
Yeah.
you know?
We don't have that option.
I wish
Yeah.
we wish we had that option. We don't.
Sure. So, yeah, if you have a group host that has 0 use, all of the energy generated is coming back on the grid. All the other members of the group must, their annual use must exceed the output of the solar array. And you file a report annually with the Public Utilities Commission, you know, reporting what the use was and of all the members and the group host and what the output of the solar array is. And that gets approved by the Public Utilities Commission and the co-op, and that allows you to continue as a group host. It's verifying that your group is using more than the solar array output.
Okay. So the scenarios we have is one, we do the group net metering, we get a monthly check, a monthly bill, and effectively the monthly check offsets some of the monthly bill.
Whatever your output is.
Yep. And then alternatively, we don't do group net metering. We just sell power back to the power company, and in that case we get an annual check, and there's no direct association with our usage.
I believe that to be correct. We don't have many, I don't know of any situations where there's 0 consumption in a solar array attached to it. So I would want to just verify that situation.
Okay.
That's not a common. Most solar arrays attached to an existing account that has existing use, and they're reducing the use of the facility, and then any excess comes back to the grid, and that's when the credits and you know, a lot of times people save those credits up and then apply them to bills at other times of the year when their use is higher. When there's no use at the meter, that presents a little different situation I would want to just check on.
Hey, Ted, well, that array that was put in Holderness, does that provide electricity for something? Like Holderness School or something like that, or is it just a standalone field of an array?
I'm not going to talk about other member situations and specifics.
Well, Ted,
just for
Ted-
privacy.
I think Ted put it in, right?
Yeah, I could talk specifically about that. It's behind the meter, so some of the energy is used behind the meter, and some of it's distributed through group net metering.
Okay.
What's consuming power there?
I guess it must be shot to the school.
Oh, they probably, did they put a cable in under the street or something?
Something. I'm sure they must have.
Weird.
Microwave.
Anyway, are we clear on potential arrangements?
I have a question. If the host doesn't use all the power that's being produced from the solar array, will there be a monthly check coming back for the excess?
In a group host situation, you're paid out every month for any energy that comes back to the grid.
The co-op pays
Yes.
extra money.
They pay you the rate minus 4 cents-ish.
Yeah.
So just to make sure it's clear to me, you said something, oh my gosh, I just forgot. You said if the group or the members of the group use more than the solar generates, we would get a check back?
No.
It would just get a bill.
No, we always get a check.
You know,
But if
you
we're
need to
using
understand.
more, if,
They still
use-
pay us for what we put into the grid and bill us for what we use out there.
They're not using it behind the meter.
oh, I see, so
There's a
it's.
group host,
Gotcha.
and then there's group members. The group host is the one that has the solar array. And that's where we're net metering at that specific location.
Okay,
But to be in a group, you need to have use that is larger than the solar array output
okay, understood.
annually.
Gotcha.
Not looking at it monthly necessarily, but on an annual basis. Your aggregate of all of your accounts in the group, if you're a group member, all the group members need to have more use than the solar array output.
Okay,
But we're only net metering at one location, at the group host site.
So we could have a solar array,
And
and we could
Can-
have a solar array, and we could have the host and no other members. And then, whatever power, that the host uses, any excess, we'd get a check monthly.
Annually.
I don't think that would work, because if the group, in your situation, you're saying the group host is gonna have zero consumption.
No, they're gonna use all the power that they can use. But
No,
the
they'll
solar
earn a
array
fee.
produces more
No.
than what the host uses.
I'm
If there's only
confused. I
one
thought we
member,
were,
If you only have one let's just say we're gonna put a solar array at the recycling center, and the
Okay.
recycling center was gonna get all its power from that solar array, and any excess power from the solar array, we get a check monthly.
I don't see that as a group, I see that as a regular net metering.
Yeah, we could do that.
And so it's not a group,
No,
not
it
a
wouldn't
group
be a group,
host.
it would just be one customer, one meter.
Right,
And
that's
we
a
could-
traditional net metering account.
Yeah, so if we wanted to do that, we could get a check every month for the excess power.
Not monthly,
No, just.
That's
by
the
year.
annual one.
Okay.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It clears that
Because
up.
there's gonna be some months, say like the winter months, you know, you're not generating much, and maybe there's more use there because they got the heat on and different things going on at the transfer station.
But in
And so you've generated some credits in the summer, when the days are longer, okay?
so over
and-
the year, we would use, as much power as we could, and if we had extra power, we'd get a check at the end of the year.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
601, basically. They would, we
That's
array it
one
so
way you
we
could
get
do it.
every month, or we would, you know,
Radius, we give it annually.
yeah.
Yeah, you could do it that way, you know.
Wonder if the
Have a
annual,
separate account for a separate solar array for each user. Just the regular.
Well, we're not going there.
We're not going
down
there
there.
Any other questions for Bill for real this time?
is there still the reporting aspect for the annual,
What's your question?
for the NOC group? Is there still the reporting to the Energy Commission or whatever it was?
Oh, yeah, the annual report
If
to the
you-
Energy Commission.
If you do it off the group net, not using
Public
group net?
Utility Commission.
You know what I mean?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
You know what I
Colleen
mean?
doesn't have her microphone, but
Bill, the question is if there's no, if the town decides not to go with group net metering and there's a check once a year, is there mandatory reporting to PUC?
No, the group, only for group hosts, that you have to apply to be a group host and, identify the group members. It's all on our website and also on the New Hampshire Public Utilities Commission website. The application and the annual reporting.
all right, we're good? Thanks, Bill.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Call you in a minute.
Yeah, give us 10.
No, I'm not calling you back tonight. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Grace?
Yeah, so I think the burning issue right now, because some of the accounts, and I sent the contract, the Constellation contract, kind of last minute, but,
I don't think anybody got it.
yeah, and Ann's aware of this. Some of the accounts expire off the current Constellation contract on December 6th.
Yep.
And Constellation warned us that we have to do something, we have to make a decision. So I think the decision is, and I know Ted's still up there, are we gonna set up a group if we go with a solar array? Who's gonna be in the group? And therefore, who's not in the group that could still get third-party supplier?
How do you define that then? How do you?
Well, it's,
Target how much the output of the array is going to be, and then figure it
so
out.
Ted's estimated what the output would be annually, and then we identified groups that would use, members that could be in the group that use more power than what is estimated. Did I say that correctly, Ted?
I mean, personally, it doesn't, we can decide to do whatever collectively you all want to do. That doesn't make any sense to me.
No.
Because why would you, effectively, you would decide, this is how much energy we're going to generate from our power, right? And then we're going to pay
Whatever the going rate is.
the going rate from NHEC for that power, therefore reducing the profit margin we're going to make on it. That's crazy. I mean, I understand that annual is inconvenient, but when we have a multi-million-dollar budget, annual's not that
I think annually is better.
Yeah.
Yeah, we deal with it annually. We get
Deal
the
with it once a year.
absolute best
Right.
price on power. We get as much money as we can generate from the array. The two have absolutely nothing to do with each other, and we generate the maximum profit margin we can generate as
And
a
it
town.
still reduces,
The operating
expenses.
costs,
And
yeah.
the,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
As long as
thought
that little-
Bill said he needed to double check on that, but
probably
Ted, maybe
what it
did you hear something
He
different?
needs to double check on whether it's annual or biannual, the timing. He
Timing.
didn't have to check
No,
on the,
Sorry, I disagree, and I'm not sure I agree with Bill's assessment. So, he was checking on whether indeed you're going to get paid without having a group net metering set up.
That's what I heard.
I didn't hear that.
I didn't hear that either.
we would get paid if we didn't have it.
If we're generating power and putting it into the grid, they're going to pay us.
Yeah,
4 cents below the rate that they're charging people.
Traditionally, they would pay you the wholesale rate, which was about a quarter of what the net metering rate is. So it's possible that I'm wrong on that, but I would say that we should really wait to hear back from Bill before you make any decisions.
We don't have a lot of time to make a decision
Right.
here, and based on the rates.
Yeah, I mean, effectively, what I'm hearing is that if what you're suggesting could be the case, then we should scrap the solar array project. We should sign a deal with People's Power Choice and get this rate and not the more expensive rates, because we as a town are going to end up paying more for power and losing money on having an array. I mean,
Absolutely.
if what you're suggesting is correct, then I am not in support of a solar project this evening, and I will, that's my own personal perspective, the rest of the board has a vote, I'll be suggesting that we go with People's Power Choice at 10 cents a kilowatt hour and no longer support a solar array project, if what you're suggesting is true.
And I
Because
would
a
second that.
quarter sell back on power is not a good enough profit margin. If we have to pay 16 cents and then we're gonna earn, less than that on our payback, like all of the finances, all of the math on this starts to unravel. And I know it's a lot of like voodoo economics in what's being suggested here, and I don't support it. If we can buy power at 10 cents and we can sell back power at whatever the going rate is to the electric company, I'm in. I support it. The other situation, it's not efficient. It puts us in a really bad situation.
We have to make a decision either way, and with the information at hand, I agree with Zach.
So what if you just went with the co-op for now until we sorted out whether what
Co-op's going
Bill
to charge
said-
us 16 cents a kilowatt hour. We can sign a deal to do 10 cents. We're going to pay 60% more?
For a temporary,
60% more for a temporary solution? 60%'s a lot.
That would be up to the board, right?
That is not the right recommendation, I don't think. I don't think that's a fiscally responsible recommendation to say, hey, maybe we're going to get a solar array and maybe it's going to get a good deal. So for the next 5 months, let's pay 60% more for power.
So with the numbers that Ted crunched a while ago, which would, if the numbers were correct in his model, we would generate $25,000 each year over and above. And you could still put those that aren't in the group on the 10 cents a kilowatt.
Honestly, the lack of confidence that I hear from you and Ted on these numbers, the lack of confidence the two of you have had around the stuff that Bill told me, I don't trust that projection.
Well, I'm happy to unravel that production and talk through it in detail if you'd like.
Do you have that projection that you can put up on the screen so we can look at those numbers?
I can try to do that, yes, hold, give me a second.
I mean, I have them with me.
Wait, let me ask, is there a need to make a decision tonight
Yes.
for the whole solar project?
Not for the whole solar project, but our power purchase or our competitive purchase agreement expires December 6th.
Some of the accounts expire the 6th, and some of them expire the 15th, and a couple expire January 1st.
And the board won't meet again until December 12th. So we have to make a decision tonight on whether we make a competitive purchase with one of the 4 that have been presented to us or go back to the co-op. And I certainly wouldn't support going back to the co-op at this time.
Ted, are you trying to bring those numbers up? I'm not sure what you, Zach, I just want to kind of dial in a little bit. Where's the lack of confidence around what numbers based on what Bill said?
Bill Johnstone just told us that the sellback price is roughly going to be a 4-cent reduction on the current 16 cents. So he says, hey, this is what I heard, and hold on, Ted. What I heard is right now it's 16 cents. There's going to be a 4-cent sellback margin. We're going to earn 12 cents on all the power that we put into the grid. That's what I heard from Bill. Ted, I just heard you say that if we do a sellback, we're going to get a quarter, which would mean we would get 4 cents on the sellback.
That's the scenario that if you got an annual check.
Yes, that's what we're talking about is an annual check instead of a power purchase agreement or a competitive purchase agreement.
A group net metering.
Group net metering versus competitive purchase. Yep.
Group net metering.
Group net metering versus having a single net meter
group.
with sellback. No group. Yeah.
And just to be clear, under a group net metering without the consumption at the site, we were essentially getting paid 12 cents a kilowatt hour and paying 16 regardless.
Right.
Yes.
So we're paying 4
Can I-
cents extra no matter what we do.
Right.
Can I clarify that? There's, the rates the co-op offers are published. I'm looking at them right now, and the net metering rate that you would be paid is 16.67 cents. And the 4 or 5 cents that Bill was talking about is the actual cost is more like 20 or 21 cents. So that's the difference he's talking about. So he's not saying it's 16 cents minus 4 or 5 cents.
What's the current rate that we pay for power to the co-op?
We don't. We pay it to Constellation currently.
If we stop paying Constellation on December 5th, what's the rate that we would pay to the co-op?
16 cents. It's a little bit more than
What's
16.
the 21 that Ted just said?
Can you clarify what the 21 was, Ted?
That's the all-in price, including all the charges that the co-op charges. So there's one aspect of your power which you're buying from which you would buy from third party, which would be 10 cents, and that the current co-op power cost for that is 14 to 16 cents, depending on what your rate class is.
So 16 cents plus fees. You're saying that they're going to pay us that same 16 cent net metering that we pay for power, we'd pay for power from them? They're not adding any markup to that?
I think they do.
That's correct.
That doesn't feel like what Bill just told us.
No, it doesn't. Feels to me,
The rate that
if
they're
we've got
gonna pay-
multiple accounts that are coming off at different times, certainly the ones that are coming off
On the 5th.
on the 6th or 5th, whatever the date is, have to go to something else. Because we're not gonna make a decision to do co-op in the short term for those.
No, we're not going to pay 60% more for power.
I have a question. So the co-op's charging us an extra 5 cents on top of the 16 cents for all their extra charges. If we go with People's Power, are we gonna have to pay that extra 5 cents?
You do.
Yeah.
You still get a co-op
We
bill.
still have to pay the
Still have to pay the
delivery
fees.
fees or whatever they have that are,
So that's the same no matter what.
regardless.
It's the 16 that we're comparing to the 10 cents, not
I
the 21 to the
I think
10.
Bill was saying that they were gonna like probably reduce it to 12.
As a payout to us.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how I heard what he said
Yes,
too.
that's
Which
exactly right.
sounds reasonable.
Which is not true. I have a scheduled rate in front of me and shows exactly what they'll pay you on exported power.
Can you broadcast that, Ted?
What's
So-
that?
Can you screens share that, what you're looking at?
So you're saying that they will pay us exactly what it costs them?
Well, it's a little more complicated than that. The total amount they're paying you is based on.
Make it
certain-
simple.
Make it simple.
I don't care how complicated it is, I want to have a simple understanding. This sheet is easy to understand. Put it in that context. If you're gonna say it's complicated, then it makes it hard for us to make a decision to go for a solar array. Period.
The reality is we're going to have to be able to explain, if this project's going to go forward, we've got to be able to confidently explain this to the taxpayers at town meeting in 15 seconds. We're not going to have the opportunity to get into various different levels. We need to be able to hand them a piece of paper that says, this is the cost, this is what we get paid, maybe there's some variability here, worst case, best case scenario, and here's the end result. And if we can't explain that to we can't explain that to a third grader, then there's no way that this is going to pass. Right now, I feel like we would need a degree in energy and finance to be able to fully understand what's being proposed.
It is very complicated. So I guess I'm hearing that you guys need to make a decision. So is there a possibility that you just make a decision on the rates that are about to expire, on the accounts that are about to expire, and that there's a possibility that there's other accounts that you could, if you decided that the solar was a good deal, that you could then put them in the group?
What are the dates
Yes.
of the other
Yeah.
ones?
So it's pretty
Most of them are on December 15th.
So we have one more meeting opportunity to review the additional.
Right, on the 12th.
I didn't make 100 copies, but I did email this to everybody.
Yep.
If you want to just pass them around and take a picture.
These are the ones that are.
I know they're really hard to read.
And Ted, I think I sent that to you. It's the Constellation contract that we're under right now, the town's under.
This has the dates on it. Is that
Correct. And each account. I don't know why they're on different dates. Don't ask me. That was like back in Paul Freitas days. And I don't know if, I have no idea. I just know that we recommended at the time, the PEC recommended at the time that they go with this contract.
Is the new contract realigning the dates, or is it leaving the dates separate?
I don't know if it would, honestly.
It'd be like an ad call.
I don't know if you just pretend you say, okay, we're going to go with people's power choice or something other, like maybe even for a year. I don't know if you have to roll over the accounts that are coming due as they come due. Does that make sense? Because I think if you cancel early on any of the accounts, there might be a penalty through Constellation, possibly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but.
So it means you're bailing out of the contract for some of those accounts early. And that's a good question for our contact at Constellation.
So where did the $25,000 come from? It was essentially mathematical,
Ted, you want to take that question?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out now. It's, I'm a little confused myself.
Why don't we move along, give them a chance to
Yeah.
figure something out, and we'll come back to them.
We can loop back, give you a moment to pull those materials together that were kind of a surprise request from us. We'll loop back here. Next on we'll skip both the competitive power rates, and we'll go to the South Main Street project warrant article discussion, and we'll come back. This is a complicated issue, and I'm going to read June's letter. It's long, but if anybody is actually watching this, not having this letter in front of them, there'll be no context for what we're about to talk about. So I'm going to read this real quick. Dear members of the board, today this is from Scott Whedon to the Plymouth Board of Selectmen. Subject: South Main Street project. Dear members of the board, today, members of the town and Plymouth Village Water Sewer Department met with our engineering firms to discuss the South Main Street project. To recap where we are and what is needed from here is as follows. 1, the initial bids for the project back in spring-summer were not accepted due to a technical error with the delivery of the bids to the town project. Our bid was received at the Plymouth Village Water and Sewer Department office, and Town Hall received the water and sewer bid. To accept that bid as presented was felt by all to be out of the acceptable bid procedure practice, and further, once the bids were open, the estimated cost of bids as presented showed the town would have to come up with an additional $500,000 beyond what we have, which is $950,000. A decision was made at that point to rebid the project. So that was the administrative sent the bid to the wrong place issue. More recently, the second attempt at bidding the project came, and the town only received one bid versus the 3 that are required under the EDA requirements for the grant. When this bid was opened, the town's cost beyond the $950,000 that we have went from an additional $500,000 to the town needing an additional $1.8 million. As the town does not have that amount available, a recommendation was received from EDA advising that the town should rebid once more with the hopes that the timing would be more appropriate to bid, and hopefully the bids would come in more affordable for the town's portion. Plymouth Village Water Sewer Department has accepted all bids that they've received for the project, except for the work in the area of South Main Street, and will be moving forward. They are ready to go and have the funds necessary. The decision to reject the second bid was based on the advice of town engineer and EDA that bidding that time of year was not good, summer, fall, and EDA advised we just had to have 3 bids. The new proposed timeline for bidding will be December into January of 2023. So where do we go from here? The only way that we are potentially going to be able to have the additional funds available for the project, which this time is estimated to be $1.8 million based on the second bid round, is to place a bonding warrant article on the 23-24 warrant to allow the board the ability to bond up to the worst case scenario amount of $1.8 million. Which, sidebar commentary, is that the worst case scenario? I don't know. 2, our engineering firm believes potentially the town would get 3 bids, including more local contractors involved, and could potentially bring the bid amount lower. If when the bids are open in February, the amount that is needed is actually less than the proposed bond amount we have in the warrant article, the board would have the ability on the floor of town meeting to reduce the amount needed for the bond. However, waiting until the bids come in does not allow us to follow through on the procedures to acquire borrowing authority, holding a public hearing for the bond in early January, in preparation for the 23-24 town meeting, which is on March 8th, 2023. Remember, your authority to borrow can always go down. You cannot go up on the floor of town meeting. If the vote at town meeting is in the affirmative, a contractor could be selected by mid-March, and a notice to proceed would be issued to the contractor with understanding that they would be starting the project by the end of April or early May, which is the date given to the town by EDA as a deadline to start construction. In the budget that we are viewing at this time, we have put in a placeholder payment in the amount of $250,000 for the initial payment of the bond associated with the project. That was going to be discussed in the meeting in December. However, waiting until December 12th or 19th does not allow the engineer to go out to bid in mid-December as they are planning today. We are looking for the board to approve adding to the warrant a warrant article looking for authorization for the board to issue bonds and or notes in the amount up to
I think that
Please hold. Your
model doesn't account for the fact that there's savings going.
Thank you. Does not allow the. We're looking for the board to approve adding to the warrant a warrant article looking for authorization for the board to issue bonds or notes in the amount up to $1.8 million, which is maximum figure we've determined at this time. Once the board makes the decision to either put a warrant article on the warrant for this amount or not, we ask the chairman to send an email to June Hammond Rowan and copy myself and Amber on that email to let all of us know what the decision of the board will be. So, that is a nice summary of all the backstory and complexity that we are at in relation to the South Main Street project.
Why would a second attempt at bidding actually receive 3 bids as opposed to 1? What would have changed?
Actually, a third attempt.
People got busy. I guess that's one angle. Another angle is,
Conditions are gonna change.
conditions and costs
It's quite
and
apparent that the die is cast, that the economy's gonna change. And, the construction schedules that they've been on are winding down.
Okay.
which you would think that would actually maybe lead to more bids. Yeah, in the next round, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
Hence
the
why you
die
think
is
you'll get 3.
cast already.
One bid is insufficient.
There's gonna be
Right.
a 30% drop in activity. And right now, everybody's stretched to the limit, and,
The concern I have is that we've kind of, to some extent, poisoned the closed nature of the bid process at this point, because we've anchored any of the bidders to pricing, right? They understand, the town was willing to pay this amount. Town was willing to pay this amount. We might as well bid at or above that because they were willing to pay it, which is unfortunate. I don't think there's any way of getting around it at this point,
kinda
but
like playing roulette.
yeah, we really got in a bad situation by not being able to accept that first bid.
That's it. It's really ridiculous. The whole thing was unfortunate, but,
Yeah.
and we're paying for it big
No,
time.
like you might have some hungry bidders.
Yeah. Maybe local.
They're looking at a lot less work next year. And things aren't gonna get better for at least a year. Municipal work is a lot better than no work.
It's kind of frightening though, to bond 1.8 million for something that was gonna be cheap initially, relatively cheap,
That could throw the whole thing off if we don't.
especially now, because we probably have like, two companies that are gonna be doing the work and coordination effort, and it's just gonna be a mess.
Yes. I suppose our options at this point are we move forward as suggested with a warrant article to bond the 1.8 million. Another option is for us to not move forward with that, assume that it comes in at the price we originally budgeted and planned for, and only move forward with the project if the bids come in at that price. Or 3, say, nope, return. We're not going to do this project at all. We're not going to replace the stormwater drainage, any of it, and defer this project to a future development cycle.
In my opinion, is three is out, unfortunately.
I mean, I don't think it's a great option by any means, but it is
It's an option.
an option. I can't think of a fourth option.
Drainage is critically important to the maintenance of roads. If you don't have proper drainage, you're gonna lose your roads.
And it's going to be very expensive to do this in the future, to tear that road up again.
Yeah, we don't want to tear up the road again.
So if collectively we're not comfortable with canceling the project, then it comes down to, do we put a warrant article on? Or do we say, we only want to proceed with this project if it comes in at under bid price, budget price?
Well, I mean, we could make room by, agreeing to bond up to 1.8 million, and we can still not accept the bids if it was far in excess of what we initially intended for it. And,
Yeah, this isn't up to, doesn't obligate us to anything. I think we can explain that at town meeting, and people would understand it. So I would say, yes, we should go forward with creating that warrant article to allow us to, giving us at least options to do something in the future.
The other thing, at the time that the second bid came in, it was extremely difficult to get supplies, and everything was overpriced badly. And now, I guess the Port of Los Angeles doesn't have any ships waiting to unload, and things are moving, and prices are gonna start coming down. What's really running up the price of everything is trucking costs because of fuel.
So do we actually have to go to 1.8?
No, we can go to wherever we want.
That's what they
But
recommend.
if we don't go to 1.8 and that's our only option that comes in, then we're locked in to having no options.
I mean, there's always the general fund.
We wouldn't be able to
Which
do
doesn't
the
have a
job.
lot in it.
Wouldn't be able to do the job.
Right.
I mean, I sure hope it doesn't come in at 1.8.
I think we should take the recommendation that they have here.
But we have no intention of going above and beyond. We don't have any intention of even going to the 1.8. Or do we?
I don't know.
the assumption is there might be a couple of low bids.
The hope is that we get some low bids. But that's hope. That's not a strategy.
Yeah.
1.8 is what's in our first, the payment on a 1.8 bond is what's in the budget we looked at last week.
Right.
There are a lot of contractors who are committed to residential development, which is coming to a screeching halt. And they're gonna be looking for work. That's why I think we're gonna get more
I think we'll
bids.
get more bids. We can hope. Anybody want to put a motion in for this?
I'll make a motion that we put a warrant article out for the sum of 1.8 in hopes that we don't necessarily need to use it all.
Second.
Any more discussion on that particular motion? Based on your understanding, Colleen, is that everything they need in a motion to proceed?
Yes. No further discussion of that, yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That one's gonna be uncomfortable.
Yes, it is.
I think it's gonna be tough to explain a solar array to the town.
Hey, Ted, it's back when you guys are ready.
Yes, we are ready for you again.
Ted, you're on.
Thank you, sorry, I had to unmute. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you blow that up a little bit more for us who are sitting a mile away from it?
Is that like vacuuming cotton?
I'm not sure how much I can do.
It's been doing that all night.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to transcribe with the echo.
That's better.
Okay,
So we're looking at the cash purchase columns or the
bank loan.
bank loan? Okay, that's the column we should be looking
It
at.
would be preferred if we would go.
Yep.
go
And
So I apologize, I did not have a value in there for the fact that for those accounts that are group net metering, you would have to pay co-op power at 16 cents versus what you could be doing, which is buying third-party supply at 10 cents. So what I did was I put in row 19. And if you want me to start from the top and go through the numbers, does that make sense?
the thing that I'm interested in seeing specifically is how we came up with the
19.5.
the credit value and the income. So the lines 14 and 15 maybe.
Okay, annual exported energy credit value is the 16 cents
Times the size of the array.
times the size of the amount of kilowatt hours generated by the array.
But there is a debate of whether or not that's 16 cents or 12 cents.
Okay, so I'm going over here to the schedule of rates. This is the co-op's published schedule of rates. You guys see that?
I think you have to stop sharing and then reshare.
Okay, thank you. Just trying, got too many windows open, trying to find the... All right, sorry, give me one more second here, folks.
Okay.
Oh, there it is. Schedule rates, share. Okay, how's that?
Okay.
Can we see that now?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, so this is the, I'll go up the top. This is the schedule rates effective August 1, 2022.
Yep.
And if we go down to, we go past the residential, we're at general single phase. Greater than 400 exported, 16649.
Yeah, so it's 16 cents exported and 25 cents delivered?
That's right. That's the difference, the 4 cents he was talking, well, he was talking about 4 cents. It all depends on the different rates that you're looking at, but I'm trying to be specific about the rates that we would have here.
Okay, so we would get in this scenario, we would get 16 cents on the export rate,
That's right.
but we're going to pay 25 cents for our cost.
That's all in. You're only comparing the co-op power, which is the supply part of the bill, versus third-party supply. Because you're going to pay all the other, you're going to pay the delivery charge, the access charge, the benefit charge. You're going to pay all those to the co-op no matter what you do.
So which component, how much of that delivered is the actual cost that we would offset by going with a competitive purchase?
It's the 16 cents, 16,983 delivered, I think is what they're looking at here, right? 16,983
Yep.
versus your 10 cents. Does that make sense?
I think it does. So the 16 cents, right where your cursor is,
Yep.
that's the number we would compare against the competitive purchase agreement, the 10 cents.
That's right.
But the exported amount is 16, not 12,
That's correct.
which is a whole lot closer than he was suggesting. Okay.
It's all published here, black and white.
How much kilowatt hours are we talking about exporting?
324,000.
So it would actually be N16 because it's greater than 2,000 kilowatt hours?
Correct.
2,000? Sorry, my eyes.
I know, it's hard to read.
It's 15,654.
15,654.
So should I go back to the spreadsheet?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna share that. So this number, so that's the annual exported energy credit value is how we got the 324,000 kilowatt hours times that rate. The REC income is renewable energy credits, and that's I'm not sure we talked about that at all, but that's a way to get revenue from the solar array. And those are sold on the open market. Current rate is
How does that work?
REC. How does
Are
that
you asking
work?
about the rec?
Yeah.
So we can sell our renewable energy credits to, say, a big polluter, basically.
So who grants us those credits?
You automatically generate them by generating solar energy. And then you can work with an aggregator of RECs to sell your RECs. Which is what most towns and organizations do with their RECs. It's essentially looked at as another incentive.
And hopefully, I know, so these spreadsheets were given to you a while ago, so I'm sure, yeah,
I remember them.
it's like a refresher, hopefully, tonight. But I think what Ted did was he, again, added that line 19.
Yeah, so
So-
line 19, you're effectively adding some lack of savings.
Lack of savings, exactly. So, your annual total financial benefit went from 25,000 down to 5,000. And that's, I think it is what it is. I think it's a more accurate representation of what happens to the bottom line for the town.
What I still don't necessarily understand is why are we not able to get the third party rate?
You are for those, if you decide to do group net metering, just say you decide to go with solar, town says yay. If you do set up a group, those outside the group, you could still do a contract with a third party.
But why? What number here would reduce if we decided just to do regular metering, not group net metering?
I'm sorry, I was thinking about a different subject that's relevant, but can you ask that question again?
Yeah, if we chose to do regular net metering and not group net metering, other than allowing us to save that $19,000, is there some other number that goes down or changes because of that relationship?
Assuming that the town will pay that full 16 cents at the end of the year, no, there's no difference. I just don't think that's the case, but I will apologize again, there's a lot going on here, but for other utilities like Eversource, et cetera, the group members are allowed to be on third-party supply. So did you confirm that with Bill before I got on the phone or on the Zoom that that's the case with the co-op?
Yes.
I don't think he's certain of that.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem like really firm on a lot of things that he was
Said
saying.
they all had to be on co-op.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
He said
All the members
all
of
those
the
in the
group.
group.
All the members of the group, but not that you had to put every
Non-group
every
members don't.
account
Yes.
on the
Correct.
town.
You didn't have to put every
Correct.
account in, you
Right.
didn't have to put
You
every
only
in the
had,
group.
like 3 accounts on a group,
Yeah.
and then the other 10 could go.
Correct. And that's your quandary right now. A, you're going to do solar. B, is it going to be group? C, what do you do about this Constellation contract that's coming due? Kind of a perfect storm, right?
Yeah, and as long as the second tranche or whatever of people coming off that contract, it's gonna, be like the high users too. So it's not gonna be like 12/7, it's gonna be like 12/15 or whatever that, the other ones that are be coming off the Constellation contract. So I don't know if that makes a difference in consideration, but.
And don't forget this, I'm going to throw this out there too. This is just for the period that the loan is still active. So
True.
this all increases once the loan is paid off, which some towns are taking the revenue and putting it towards principal.
What's the loan period that we're talking about here?
It was a
This is a
10-year.
20-year.
Yeah, 20 year. But at 20 years, what's the life on the array itself?
25.
25. So you're getting like
No,
5 years.
it's more like 35.
Yeah, okay, well.
I think
Similar to your heater in your basement.
So
Your shingles on your
it
roof.
could also be 15. based on
It's warranted for 25, correct?
Warranty for 25, but the life cycle that most people model is 35 years.
And how many customers do we have that are 35 years out?
In New England?
0.
Nobody's had this for 35
Right.
years.
No, that's
Right.
kind of what I'm saying.
Estimated.
Yeah, it's not real.
I think the real gamble is our electric rate's gonna continue to go up in the long run, because if we do this, we're gonna have a fixed rate of financing, and ultimately it's gonna be paid off, but, the rate's gonna continue to rise. So our payback is gonna continue to rise.
Well, keep in mind too, as rates rise, the payback from co-op will increase if we go with group. I'm just
Yeah.
throwing
If
it
we're
all out
paying-
there.
If we're paying 60% more for power from the co-op than we could pay on our own, it's not great.
Yeah, but keep in mind that that's already calculated in here, you still have a net positive benefit.
I feel a lot more hesitant around investing $500,000 to maybe get $6,000 a year in benefit, right? Because it's not a guarantee. None of this is guaranteed. It's maybe $6,000 in benefits versus maybe $25,000 in benefits. Those feel like very different numbers to me.
So
Do
we
we-
need to,
No, you-
one,
I don't think we know this. Do we know what our power consumption kilowatt hours in the town is?
Yeah, it's 425,000 kilowatt annum, and I could just reconfirm that.
So we'll just say 450.
So it exceeds what the solar array would be, and that's what Bill said it needed to do.
Oh, it will exceed it.
Oh yeah, we don't even get close, really.
I'm sorry?
To the total town consumption, the array is not, doesn't really get close to the total town consumption.
100,000.
75% of,
Yeah, 75%.
yeah.
So that, by those kind of rough numbers, we're paying 112,500 now per year on electricity.
We're paying less though because our current fixed rate's so much lower.
Well, okay.
But we will be.
Yeah. Assuming the 25 cents,
That the co-op's talking about.
well, the total all-in cost. And if we take that same figure, 450 times 0.10 plus the delivery fees, and so it's not really 0.10, it's 0.16.
Yeah.
No, if the rate we're paying is 16 cents plus the all-in cost is 25, so the difference between there is like 9 cents. So 0.19 would take that to 85,500. If we go to that 10-cent deal.
Yeah.
Rough numbers. So the delta between those
Between People's Choice and co-op.
is roughly 15, 25, 27,000
Per year.
per year.
And that's a 5-year rate, right?
That's a 5-year rate. We don't know what's going to happen to the co-op in the meantime, in terms of their rates. So by going to People's Choice, we are essentially saving ourselves $27K over a co-op. So that's the barrier that the solar array has to overcome additionally.
I would suggest that the barrier shown on the spreadsheet here, and I wonder if there's a way to get an extension from the third-party supplier that you're under currently now, so that you could have another couple of months to make this decision, just.
So the current supplier has said if we want to extend for a year, we're going to go from 7.5 cents to 20 cents. So they've already told us what
it's
the
a
new
non-option.
price is.
Yeah, Ted, we already got that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, out of respect to the amount of work that the Plymouth Energy Commission has done, we're sort of, the back's against the wall here without a lot of information.
And my problem with this is that if we're staying with the electric co-op, in order to have the solar array, at best, we're going to get a credit for the energy we produce in excess.
Right.
So we're still gonna be paying 25 cents a kilowatt hour, all in.
We're still going to pay whatever the energy co-op wants to charge us. We no longer get the freedom to negotiate the best price on our power.
Yep. Seems like a done deal to go with the cheaper rate.
We could get a 1-year extension from People's Power for 11 cents.
It's, if you look at it, it's closer to 12.
Okay, 11.8.
So you want to take a 1-year extension and pay an extra 18%.
Well, that might get us over the hump. You know,
It might not, and then maybe next year's rate isn't as good.
yeah. We could
10
get-
cents a kilowatt hour.
Given all these other prices, it's just so much less expensive than everybody else.
How could we not do it? I'm gonna you're gonna volunteer to pay me 60% more for something. I don't know why you would do that, but I've got a service I'm gonna sell you, Neil. I'm gonna sell you IT help. Zach is willing to give it to you for $100. I'm gonna charge you $160, but because you like me, you're gonna do it.
I just want to add something. I mean, I'm a taxpayer. I get it. I guess a lot of people would say that the money's not the only reason to do this. You know, whether you're saving, you're paying a little bit more. Just throwing it out there. And don't forget,
What is the implied other reason?
reducing your CO2 emissions.
But as I understand it, People's Power Choice at 10 cents a kilowatt hour is 100% green power.
So Ted, do you weigh in at all on how, because they're buying RECs too. So it may not be here, it may be out in, a wind farm in Texas.
Sure.
They're buying a wind farm in Texas, exactly. So it's about local control and local renewable energy.
I buy that argument.
And I would advocate that a lot of people in town of Plymouth, I'm not a resident, I admit, I live in Holderness, would be supportive of something that, may have a little benefit, may have a little cost. It's not dramatically different at the end of the day.
Yeah, and to be clear, I'm not opposed to solar. I'm opposed to a project that I don't see a reason why we wouldn't maintain control over our independence on buying, only to gain independence on our generation. So, from what I heard Bill say, and we can challenge the numbers, but I still think there's a way for you to do this project and generate money off that solar array that offsets these costs. And if what I heard him say, that they'll pay us, let's say 12 cents, not even the 16 that's here, that they'll pay us 12 cents on the sell back, and then we're going to get that as an annual check. Well, awesome. We're paying 10 cents for power, and we're selling the electric company power for 12 cents.
A win.
That's business. Like, that's a win for everybody. Maybe that's not true. That's what I heard Bill say tonight, and I would like that to be true. So from my perspective, I'd like to support going with People's Power Choice on a 5-year deal as our supplier, and figure out how our agreement, metering, all of that works so that we get the most money we can get out of the power we sell back to the co-op.
We could certainly clarify, because I heard him pull back a little bit about that. Yeah, you just get a check once a year for the same amount of money. So I'd prefer to him to confirm that in writing or.
Bird in the hand,
Yeah.
because, solar array could get turned down at
That too, right? Right. We could choose not to enter into this agreement. Then the solar array gets turned down, and we've both
Then we're
gotten
screwed.
not the cheapest power,
Right.
and we don't have an opportunity to generate our own.
It'd be
I
right
mean,
back
double.
in the Main Street project.
Right back to the Main Street project. Yeah.
Same kind of thing can happen.
That's your will. We're only here to advise.
We appreciate you.
Oh, absolutely appreciate it. Yeah. And
And if I drank wine, I'd go home and drink a whole bottle tonight.
Scotch works just as well.
Yes,
I think-
vodka, the whiskey, what else is there?
Please.
that's where I'm at. I think we should go forward with this agreement on a 5-year term. I don't think that's any reason to scuttle the
No.
array
Right,
project. I think
absolutely.
It just
there's
means that they
details
have
to
to
figure
figure
out
The whole
there.
town?
This covers
that?
the whole.
This
This
does.
covers the whole municipality. Yeah. All of our 425,000
Mm.
usage.
I would agree.
I would agree.
Yeah, actually, the economies looked better before we'd only make $5,000. Because we were making like 25 or something initially.
I think we can get back to 25 on that spreadsheet. We need to clarify with Bill.
Yeah.
We need to lay it out. Tell us these numbers are correct, kind of deal.
So I would kind of agree as well. Let's go with the 10 cents and if we can go forward with the array as well. And
Parallel track.
you had a good point though, as far as like, it may not go forward and then it would be stuck with 16 cents
Or more.
ultimately.
Because we don't know what it'll do in June.
We need a motion for this? I will make a motion that we go with the People's Choice Power at 16 cents a kilowatt hour for the contract for our electrical needs.
You mean
10
10
cents.
cents?
10 cents, sorry.
I
It ended in 10.0016 and I saw the 16.
I literally just got updated rates, literally, from People's Power. It's changing every day. So the new rate for 100% green is 0.10727.
10.
It's
Still,
still
it's
10
close.
cents.
It's close.
107.
Can you run that by us
Yeah.
again?
0.10727 per.
Okay, so it's almost 11 cents.
Right.
So it's
I just want a full disclosure because they
Yeah,
are
no, it's
changing every day.
So, will it go up again before we tell them that we passed
I could
that?
send her a note right now, but I'm not the power that bees. That bee?
It's anything is possible, but very likely it's still going to be better than 16.
Yeah.
Right.
The deal is, so we got the 3 dates that we're gonna be like, transitioning to, a different contract. Unless there's no penalty for just, leaving early-ish for a couple of them. And just
Why
go
can't
for
you
it.
just add them as they expire?
Cause then it might go up to
Depends
like
on
11 or 12 cents,
Right.
Add another contract, so.
The question is there like a penalty for
Right, for
changing
early.
early?
Right.
So I just got an email from them too.
You want to hear it? Are you
This
talking
is-
about?
This is Constellation.
Yes.
Yeah.
628. They will. So my question to Constellation was, given that there are different contract end dates for the various town accounts, what is the process to end the Constellation contract if the town decides to go with a supplier other than Constellation? And our contact says they will go on MTM.
Month to month.
Okay. Until the other supplier submits their, thank you, submits their enrollment. Once they do, it will drop us and switch to them, so make sure they have the correct end dates. Otherwise, it will either drop too early or drop later than supposed to, causing them to be on MTM.
Okay.
Clear as mud?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we'll end up probably with a couple of days here where we're paying kind of
Both.
weird rates.
Yeah.
Which is probably
So
like
you're
that
gonna-
20-cent rate.
Redo your motion?
Current rate instead of target.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, current rate,
Oh, all right, I'll,
assuming no variation greater than 10% or something.
I'll make a motion to accept the People's Power Choice as our provider at the current market rate of whatever that day, within a variance of 10%.
I'll second.
Any discussion around that? Just gonna annotate that with we'd still love to see us figure out the array thing.
Yep.
This is not a, at least from my perspective, not a
A
no on the
rejection
array-
of the
not a
array.
rejection of the array. It's a, let's control this piece and solve the other piece.
We're gonna continue to support their efforts to get a
Yes.
solar array.
For sure. And if I can help review any of the data to try to tell a good story, I'm willing to do so. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed or abstaining?
Did you say a 5-year contract?
Yes.
Yes.
That was a good decision.
It's a tough decision. That is it for old business. Which was about an hour and a half longer than I think we expected. but
Yep.
We jinxed it right out of the
Yeah.
gate. No other new business, no purchase orders, no policy changes, so we're on to committee reports.
Water and sewer was canceled this past Tuesday. So I have no update.
I haven't had any meetings in the past week, since the last meeting.
Look at you.
So, I'm sorry, the South Main Street project, is this shareable? I'm assuming it is.
I mean, we're gonna put it on the warrant, yep, and
And-
we read it publicly
Yeah,
on
we read it
air.
publicly.
So,
It's on-
business have been asking, that's why I.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I wouldn't be afraid to.
Okay.
And I would guess that Scott probably will be
Well,
reaching out to
town
folks
knows.
as well.
Gotcha, good.
It's probably getting complained about on Facebook right now.
Right.
Yeah,
By people we don't know.
Pitchforks and the torches.
Thank you, citizens. We love you. Campus Community Council,
No update.
Plymouth Elementary School.
No meeting until December.
So the high school had a meeting. I was not able to attend because I drove my kid to driver's ed. My wife very nicely attended, even took notes for me, and I forgot them in my truck because I am a terrible person.
I'll tell your wife that.
So I have no update. Conservation Commission, Neil?
They had a meeting last Tuesday, but I wasn't there. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I think I got caught up in the world before Thanksgiving.
It is always a bit of a whirlwind. Capital Improvement is on rest. Advisory Budget Committee, we met with them
Yeah.
a week ago.
Yep.
LRPC, Bill?
I'm not
Oh, we
certain.
have a meeting
There's probably one today, like right now or something like that, but they usually have
today? Isn't it
LRPC,
tomorrow?
LRPC.
Not Perlac.
Oh. I
Yeah.
was thinking of the Hemi River.
Yeah, no, they had a commission meeting that, we had a select board meeting, and
Is there a
then,
Hemi River meeting tomorrow?
yes, we haven't gotten there yet.
Eh, whatever. We'll be there now.
All right.
So, yeah, tomorrow night,
Tomorrow night,
6:30.
Perlac.
6:30, Perlac.
Library.
There's a Zoom.
I'll plan on it.
Okay.
anything interesting on the agenda there?
Yeah, we're gonna have Owl's Nest, developer there,
They're building a whole town.
and DES. Yeah, their project up in, Thornton's only like 20% built out. They're making a lot of water withdrawals from the river. And, there's been a lot of discussion about,
They're gonna lower the aquifer.
Wow.
yeah, so,
That's an interesting one. Parks and Rec?
No meetings since last
Parking.
Continuing to move forward slowly. We do have 2 solar lights up in the area, like Green Street, in between everybody. I took a walk down the other night after they were installed. It's still obviously very dark all the way down from Yama's, at the end of Yama's, what's that, Green Street Extension, all the way up. We're going to have a discussion. I talked with Alex and Nate today. They're going to have a discussion with Gail at the senior center. They do have lights there. They don't use them, not quite sure why. And so going to, talk to her about, once again, that same conversation, what they use in that spot. There'll be another Joe discussion as far as snow removal. So in some respects, we're back to where we were. Not quite, but it certainly feels like that. We're kind of revisiting all over again. Because we know the senior center uses that area. Don't know how much. So we're from 20 to less than 20 spots. I'm not feeling very...
Not feeling very encouraged by the progress right now.
I'm not. It's just, we're going to have to add more lights if we go down that path.
Yeah.
It's just way too scary down there. Which, still are reasonable. The amount, the money is there. It's not a whole lot of costs. I don't know, just not feeling very comfortable about it.
Well, it seems like an important project to figure out, so hopefully...
It is. Not that we're not pushing forward, and now, right, there's a call to meeting with Gail and Joe and the rest of the group again.
Mhm.
So I know Alex will be calling that shortly, so we're certainly not letting it go.
Okay, good. Nothing on economic development, I assume. Energy Commission, Bill? We've just had plenty of Energy Commission conversations.
Yeah,
We're
well,
full.
one thing you didn't include was that we sent off a letter to FAA regarding the position on Quincy Road of the array that is.
Oh, okay.
So, and we'll hear back in case, I'm sure. Actually, the turnaround time when Lisa did it was a couple of weeks or something?
December 11th.
Okay. Right. December 11th.
Time for next meeting.
Yep.
And thank you to the Energy Commission for finding us the best price on power. Chamber of Commerce.
Met last week. They're still gathering members, which is good. They have good momentum. I think Maddie brings a lot of energy to that group again. There will be a travel and tourism expo January 11th at PSU. They still continue with their business after hours. I know they had one at Yama's last week, the week before, very successful, which is great for everybody. And
This is the damn beer place, so.
say that again?
Their next meeting is
Yes.
Dan Beer.
Yes, Dan Bear Place. Yes. They were focused on Small Business Saturday, obviously. Still working with GRDC for seminars. They did talk about the GRDC as far as office space still available at the Enterprise Center. So they're hoping either co-working, visitors are trying to market it any way they can right now. Get some more people using that space. That's about it.
Cool. I love seeing that activity. It's nice. Any other committee reports? I think we're good.
What's
Public-
the alternate planning board compared to the planning board?
Oh, just that I am Neil's alternate. It really shouldn't even
So that
be-
doesn't need to be a separate.
It doesn't need to be a separate
No.
bullet item. It could just be
Thank
planning
you.
board.
Okay.
And if I was listed second, it would be fine.
Yeah, right.
Public comments.
Frank left.
Oh my gosh.
Frank left.
We were too
and
late for
the
Frank.
2 students whose paper I signed left.
We have 2 more.
See, I'm going to sign that one with a lot more enthusiasm. See if they get their interview. But thank you for attending. We always like seeing the students. Any other public, anything?
I noticed the meters are covered over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're in our
shopping.
free week of parking.
Yeah.
Free parking week. Seems like, was that well received by the downtown businesses?
I believe so, yes. We actually had a couple customers come in today that were very happy about it.
And they weren't protesting that they got it for free.
Decide to start parking there.
They're still enforcing a.
Yeah, the
time
2
limit.
hour, right.
Oh, they're enforcing.
Right.
Still enforcing a
Not
time.
sure
limit.
how, but,
Yeah, God knows. They're not allowed to use chalk, so.
right, right.
With that, we have no private,
So I'll make a motion to adjourn then.
Second.
Jeez.
any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.